What's up, everybody? Chris Harris here from Sample Spotlight, and today we will be checking out Strezov Sampling's Balkan Ethnic Orchestra. This library contains 29 gigabytes of content. It features 2 mic positions and over 40 plus ethnic folklore soloists. There's also a full ethnic quartet of singers, which features their syllable builder engine. It also has their X3M or Extreme percussion engine for some ethnic percussion. It's for the free contact player 5.7.1 and above, and it retails for $399. At the time of this recording, they have an intro price period of $329. Okay, so let's dive in here. This library is broken up into a few categories. They have band, choir, ethnic, pads, and percussion. In the band folder, I'll go ahead and start playing through some of the patches here. We have a double bass. Now, as you can see down here, they kind of have a broken down patches. And how you'll see how these are broken out is you have the playable ranges usually in the blue, and then they have kind of phrases or inflections or different types of performances in green. As you can see here, they're also, usually the performance patches have some type of velocity-dependent articulation switching. So on low velocity here, you have kind of the falls, and then kind of the rises or bends, the bend-ups for the bass. But for the most part, the patch sounds like this. So. So nice, deep, resonant sound. I'm going to go ahead and mute the reverb that they have used here. This is their own proprietary IR that they use in their libraries. I've always loved the sound of this, especially with their choirs, and you're going to hear later in the quartet just how awesome it is. Oh, sorry, actually there was no reverb on. This is just the sound of the hall. So let's just listen to the close mics real quick. All right, let's listen to the hall. And like most of their libraries, this was recorded with the Sophia Session Studios. So it's very nice. I guess how it will interact with their other libraries is basically seamless. So if you own a lot of their choirs, namely their choirs, you will basically get everything will just sound great together. That's kind of how it's designed. So this is the biggest project that they've undertaken, and it is for the free player, the free contact player. So you'll see it'll show up in your library tab. Again, it's just lots of good stuff. So let's check out the Gypsy Accordion here. How this patch is broken up is you have the longs there, and kind of the bass pedal kind of chords, not really chords, but they have the different voices, kind of like an organ where you got like the low, mid, and high. And then there's key switches down here, which switches to shorts. So that's most of the patches. If you see key switches, it basically is the first one is longs, the second one is shorts. There are some cases where they have a few others, which that's pretty self-explanatory of what articulations they are when they come in. So that's the accordion. Great sound. We can turn the reverb off and... and then we have a euphonium. Now, the one thing you'll get with this library is basically a character that just isn't in any other libraries that I found. And I have used some recent ethnic orchestras from across the line from different contact, libraries to play. And this library does bring a color and character that I just haven't used or seen out there. There's a lot here that just hasn't been done, and it's done their way, which focuses more on like the performing the individual notes versus just getting straight tones and all that. So you'll notice just in a sustain there, it's just kind of this long little swell to a kind of a multi-vibrato. Again, you can see this is like focusing on the gypsy style of performance. So it's very raw and very colorful. And go to the shorts. Most of the brass shorts have this kind of doubled kind of sound to it. So you get that. So we also have a Gypsy Flugelhorn. You can hear that vibrato. Now you notice there's a different color down here of keys. These are performances that they captured. One of the things I'd like to see that they put on the front end here is basically a release control for these like phrases, so you can kind of control how long it takes to fade out. Because right now it's basically just max. So just a nice little thing I'd like to see added in a future update. Now we also have shorts on this one. You can hear there's even like little just harmonics and even some notes that just don't sound like completely clean and clear. And I think that's the character I'm trying to express here. It's like you don't want this to be super in tune and super, completely 100% perfect. It's these little imperfections that I think makes this library really shine. And then once you throw them all in a mix together, it sounds more realistic, especially if you've listened to orchestras or ensembles, performers that play, in this kind of genre of kind of the gypsy, Eastern European kind of sound. And I'm very much attracted to that. And excuse me. And even you have there's aspects of this that could even go almost like klezmer. If you're into that style of music, this library would definitely benefit those types of compositions if you're trying to work with VSTs. So here we have a Gypsy guitar. Now how this is broken up is we have the multi-sampled playable area down here, and then we have chords. Major, minor. There you go. So I really do like the color of this guitar. I'll just play a little bit. Also, one of the things that I didn't really hear in their demos too much is like focusing more on like the softer and intimate aspects of this library. The soft dynamics of these instruments are gorgeous, and I'll show you more later, especially in the wind instruments. There's just some really cool stuff in there. All right, and then we have... You can get an idea. You can just kind of strum some stuff there. So here we have a Gypsy Trombone. And here's some of the soft dynamics of that. As you can see, I'm using mod wheel. And they have a nice seamless sound. One of the inherently major issues of sampling brass is getting that timbral change from the soft dynamics to the loud. And it not sounding too, getting that crossfade in there, just, yeah. There, you can hear it a little bit. It's not that big of a deal because one of the things in the upper dynamics is it also has a very prominent vibrato. And you can even watch the volume here. It just bounces back and forth. It's a very dramatic, and I think that's the point. And so we also have short articulations. And sorry, you might hear me clicking on my keys here. Now the second trombone here has more of a brassy quality to it, even in the lower dynamics. And then we have a trumpet legato patch, and here I'm going to play in this kind of soft sound. You can hear it's kind of like just really schmaltzy. This is designed to just cut through. You put that in any, musical line, you're going to hear it. And I think that's wonderful. So we have just the Gypsy trumpet. Really cool little phrases there, and we also have some nice stuff there. All right, and then we have a tuba. So we just have a nice complementary brass section for this. Now, it's not, your sampled to death kind of brass stuff. This isn't going to replace, your orchestral workhorses. What this is giving you is a starting palette for this style of music with that raw, just honestly, it's kind of a brilliantly put together, in my opinion. But here we have the trumpet, or the tuba, which has a nice bottom end. And then let's move from the band now, and we'll check out the choir. Now, I'm just going down the list here. There's some great stuff here. We have Quartet a Legato. Now, this utilizes their polyphonic legato engine. I'm going to play more on the softer dynamics here. If you're familiar with Rhodope, there's some subtleties of this of this quartet that sound very similar to it in terms of vocal style. This is a great companion to that library. Well, at least these patches are, and since it gives you more of like the soloist sound. This is a quartet just for women. So that's the A legato. Let's go to the E. Great sound. Now this has everything on it. The legato, there's the overlapping. You have the releases as well as their reverb. Let's turn the reverb off and definitely a lot drier sound. All right, let's check out the Syllabuilder. Now, this is awesome. So I'm going to load a test thing I did with it. And I'm just going to kind of play some chords and kind of demonstrate some of the things I really like about this. All right. You can kind of hear there's just a clarity to it, like a definition that just is wonderful. Let's switch these to sustains, and we'll just play those. All right, so we got, let's go back to the beginning of that phrase. As you can see here, now I would recommend going back to any of my previous choir tutorials that I've done, or not tutorials, but reviews that I've done on their choir libraries, probably Wotan and Freya. I go into a little more depth of the Syllabuilder engine. They actually asked me not to go all in depth on that because there's a lot to this library. So as you can see, we're already pushing 17 minutes into the video. So I'm not going to go through all the features, but it has everything if you've used their choir libraries. The Syllabuilder engine is awesome. It gives you complete ADSR for each individual syllable. You can fine-tune any of the crossfade points between syllables that you have crossfading. Each one can be rhythmically assigned a value, whether in triplet or straight. Straight time. You can switch between sustain and staccato. It has intuitive legato playability. So when you're playing this chord, for instance. Now I'm going to redo that one. Actually, let's just do the first one. So if we redo tool die, that's what they're kind of saying. If I play that and then hold the sustain pedal down, I can move any note and I'll get legato in it. And it won't go to the next sound. Now, if you do hold, if you hold this chord and then play, you can kind of create polyphonic words in that sense. So you can create like a pedal word, if you will, and then you can, continue on. So let's say we wanted tool day or just die or whatever the pronunciation is your pedal. You can just hold that down. Now, if I hold that and then I play, it's just going to go through the sequence. So there's just the way that this is designed is just intuitive for a performer. And again, I really love the soft dynamics of this of these patches. Let me redo that. And the releases are just good. All right, so that's the choir. Let's go through the ethnic instruments. Now, here's some great stuff. So they've done a Bulgarian duduk high and a low patch. And this isn't the kind of sound of a duduk when you think of that instrument. When you hear that, you're typically thinking of the Armenian or Turkish duduk. This definitely has a different kind of more of a whistly quality to it. Now these all have legato. And some of these patches in the ethnic folder have different articulations. So there's your duduk high. Now we have a low. On the harder dynamics, you get that kind of chiff sound. And also kind of more mid-range on the mod wheel. So there's the quality of that. Now, again, let me talk about the playability of the legato. Some of the instruments aren't the best in terms of like how the legato is scripted, but I feel like the ones that are the best are kind of designed to be the best because they're more of kind of that front end, front and center solo instrument. So let's, and it also is their adaptive legato, so you can do fast and slow. So it's pretty cool. All right, let's do, now they've done duduk like ensemble. They have an alto, tenor, and a bass duduk. So here's the alto. Now this is the sound you're probably used to hearing. And it's wonderful. Let's do the bass. This one has some performance aspects to it. So on the harder dynamics, and in the harder velocity and high dynamics, you get that kind of ornamental attack. And not all the notes are the same either. That's the other thing that I like about this. Some notes just have a different kind of attack to it. So very cool sound. And here's the tenor duduk. And then we have performances. So, there's your opening to, big, wide landscape shot. All right, now we have a Dukkha Ensemble with legato playability and grooves. So let's check this out. So as you can see, we have different articulations. So let's play the first one. It's the longs. And you can hear it. It's like fast bowing. Almost like a tremolo. And then we have... Oh, my bad. That's for the grooves. We should be down here. So the second key switch here, it's kind of like bends up into that sustained slow trem sound. And then we have grooves down here. So we have 3 different, banks of grooves. Now, the one thing I have to say negative about this library is these grooves are, to me, they feel like an afterthought. There's some cool stuff that I would definitely use here, but they're not really tempo locked. They've recorded them at different tempi, so there's 80 BPM, There's 120. And then there's 150. Let me see if they went to 180. No, so yeah, it's just 80, 120, and 150. Now, whatever your host sequencer is set at, I'm dragging the tempo. So if I'm below 120, you'll get the 80 BPM. If I'm above 120, you'll get 120, and then below 150, or in between, it's in between the values. Sorry, God, I'm being confusing. My apologies. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you're above the value but below the next one up, you're going to get just that tempi. So at 115, which is what I'm set at, we're getting 80. So it'd be nice if these were actually tempo synced and then scripted like that, to where when they do basically sync to the host or sampler tempo, then you'll be able to, adapt it to any cue. And so then it's just dependent on what your tempo's at. So if you're at 113, then it's either 80 sped up to 113, or it's 120 down, slowed down to 113. Whichever is going to have the least amount of artifacts, and that's what I would love to see done. And you can do a simple just sync to host or something, button that you can add that would basically add that time machine functionality, which adds to RAM usage. As you can see, these are very low imprint. I think they said the minimum amount of RAM you need for this entire library is 4 gigabytes. I haven't tested that out. That's just what's on their website. So it's a very low impact library as well. But that's what I'd like to see for the grooves, is just give me some functionality that will sync to my host tempo, so I can have things like, let's go up to 120 so you can kind of hear. And that's got a nice bouncy sound to it. And as you can see, they've sampled it down, in a range, so you can actually play that along with the melody. Here's the second groove pattern. More of a straight eighth note. And then we have this one. Let's just play something here. There you go. So you can do cool stuff like that. And then let's do the Dukkha Ensemble shorts. There's also effects on this. It would be cool to add a little stretch feature that can maybe speed these effects up like plus or minus 20% of their, regular tempo, just to kind of give some flexibility there. That would be a cool little thing I'd love to see in the future. So we have kind of the pizzicato, more of a marcato, kind of a brushed staccato, and then a harder marcato. More grit into the string there. All right, and then we have a Dukkha solo legato with grooves. Same thing, I'd like to see that updated. Now, this is an interesting patch in that it just has a quality to it that I haven't heard from a solo instrument. I honestly, before using this library, I'd never heard a Dukkha. I'm assuming I'm saying that correctly. Actually, I'm not. I'm assuming I'm saying it completely wrong, but whatever. We have bend ups. Kind of a nice, kind of like a slow sustain to a fast trim and then kind of back. It's a nice little evolving texture there. I like that a lot. And then the last articulation, fast tremolo. So yeah, there's some great little things like that in there. Sorry, I'm really talking this up, but I just love it. Every patch I've pulled up, I just keep smiling because there's something just unique about it that I just haven't used. I don't have. So there's shorts there. Pizzicato. Kind of more of a staccato on the string. All right, here we have a guida. Now this is a goat or sheep like stomach. I don't know. It's like a bagpipe. But it's made from, I think, a goat, like a goat's stomach or something. So it has a very unique sound. I was first introduced to it from the opening of the Xena theme. And I recently, well, it was months ago, but I did a kind of my own like a cover of it, a mock-up of it. And I didn't have one of these. Now I want to kind of go back and redo the intro with this library because it... Someone needs to give this patch specifically to Bear McCreary. Oh, those are phrases, sorry. Let's actually hear some more idiomatic sounds. That's one of the things to play this kind of idiomatically is just hold a note out and then just hold that and then play other notes around it. Cool sound. I love it. All right, and then we have the Gypsy Clarinet. Now this is a very interesting sounding clarinet. So there you go. It would have been nice to have some short articulations for this one, but the playability is nice. It has a very good range, and some of those bends in there are just perfect. All right, this is a cool patch. This is the Gypsy Romantic Violin. This legato in here is very syrupy. That's kind of their idea here, but there is some adaptive elements to it, so you can play faster stuff. But we just play some slow lines. here. It's so good. All right, so kind of softer dynamics. We have. Kind of hear that kind of smeary run sound. Very nice. And then we have the Gypsy Violin. More of a, or it's just the regular Gypsy Violin. Sorry. This is all you get with this. These very kind of crazy performed phrases on just a single note. It just each note is its own wild ride, but they also have performance samples. Anyways, so there's just the regular Gypsy Violin. Now, this is a very unique patch. I came across this. The guy they got for this one is awesome. Very nice character. In his voice, lots of vibrato. So yeah, there's some cool stuff there. It has legato, but I'm not a real big fan of it because the kind of the way the patches are, the vocalist isn't doing, like just a straight tone that's easy to do legato between. So I would use these more for just kind of the inflection of the voice. This, just kind of sustains, just just something like that. All right, let's move on. So we have a caval here. This patch alone is one of the best ones. You get that super airy, almost spitty sound in that low end. Phrases up there. And phrases down here. All right, so let's move on. Here's the caval 2. Great stuff. All right, we have a Macedonian Kemane, I guess. really neat sound. And then we have a tambura chords patch. These are shorts down here, and we have more of the kind of sustained out. I don't know what I'm playing. So yeah, you can just kind of play around and kind of just create a mood very easily with that patch. And then we have a multi-sampled tempura. Tremolos. And then kind of like short muted. All right, and then the last patch of the ethnic section is the Zorna, which is you get kind of the performance patches and patches. I don't know why I said it that way. And kind of some effects, and then we have different articulations there. Shorts. So yeah, the ethnic, I really think their focus here was a lot on the ethnic instruments. I think they said there's over 40 total. And as you could see, almost each note that they sampled just as its own performance in a way. So the next thing I'll show you is the percussion patch. Now, I'm not going to go through every single instrument in here, because there's a lot. So they have the tupans, and there's different styles. They have the beater, there's dampened, there's the rim shot, they have clack, sticks, and there's like 4 or 5 hits per each of these. So you cannot load every single instrument and every articulation into one instance of the percussion engine. You will have to use more. So for instance, I'll show you, I loaded up just the tupans. And let me demonstrate just, what that looks like. So this is just the tupans patch. This is everything in it. Then we have dampened, rim shot, clacks, sticks, stick hits, and then stick dampened. And they've gone through single chimes, which these are... let's put those at 7. Single chimes. These are kind of these little bell instruments, and then they have like multiples of that. The klepalo. It's kind of a wooden sound. The tarambuka. So you can create, just your own percussion patches, customized. So that's one thing I like about this engine. So I've actually implemented this patch into my template, and I've got different instruments, different styles. So just like the brass one, this is its own instrument. I'll have its own patch. And then the clay one, there's a Gypsy one here. And then there's the Balkan band instrument. So, as you can see, they've spared no expense on this, getting just kind of these traditional sounds that kind of make up the, I would say, kind of the culture of this style of music, that this is geared towards. So, all right, the last patch, which is kind of bringing them into that kind of all-in-one library, that gives you kind of the kit designed to cover just a lot of stuff. Like, this is very much trying to cover an ethnic sound of a full library, and they've covered everything, from brass, winds, percussion, all that. But there's also that element of sound design, and that's what they did with this patch. So this is called their pads patch, and they have two different styles. They have futuristic and fantasy. In the futuristic here, you have different presets, and they're all loaded, so you don't have to wait on any type of loading when you click between them, but get an idea of what these sound like. These are great cue starters if you're trying to get inspired, to write something. We have primordial being. As you can see, they even use their percussion instruments. Infested. Let's listen to fantasy. They have Caves of Magic. The Gooker Shaman. That's just cool. Just kind of their own little multi even way. Distant Storm. It's really neat. One of the things I'd say about this patch is I would love a little extra control. This little kind of dial here or scroll thing, on my screen, my mouse and everything looks much bigger. So it's easier for me if I'm watching the playback screen, but actually on my screen, I'm just using a 2K monitor. It's very tiny for me. And so I know when I've gone in here trying to click down, I've had a hard time hitting that, and so I'd love this to maybe be widened out a bit, and the words are a little bit small, so maybe kind of making the font just a little bit bigger for visually kind of suppressed people like myself. Even with my glasses, I'm kind of squinting a little bit. I'd like to see just a little boost in that for this patch. And I think there are probably some controls that could be added to this to kind of bring it, to life a little bit more, in terms of just giving controllability to it. But other than that, I got this library actually before it went to be encoded because they had asked me to have a review done by the time they released, which is today actually. And so I did kind of use an early version of this, and a lot of things were just cleaned out. Even the beta version I was using, to me, felt like a release copy. But I can honestly say, going through these patches and playing through them, again, getting the newer version for release, this is a very just well edited, well scripted, simple. I mean, it's simple in terms of how it works. But there's just no bugs, which was nice. There wasn't a lot of things I had issues with. And it's great when a developer can just send me something that they want to have reviewed, and I, not having to bug them hey, there's these things wrong with it. Do you want me, do you want it fixed before I do the review, kind of thing. I like to try to go in and just have fun with the library, and that's what this library was. It's immediately fun to play. For those that are interested in kind of that, getting an ethnic orchestra and not just buying an ethnic instrument here, or a library that has a couple ethnic instruments, but it focuses on something else, but you're getting that library for that. This has kind of that all-encompassing quality to it, which is pretty attractive to me and the type of work that I do. It's definitely geared towards film composing. especially film composing that is in, a specific, location, Eastern Europe. But it can definitely be used for other stuff, even like trailer music. There's some great stuff in here that can take your tracks from kind of sounding like everyone else's stuff to sounding unique and interesting. So I definitely encourage you to check this out. If you made it this far in the review, go and you want to get more of the patches, go to Strezov Sampling's YouTube channel. They released like an hour-long video going through each patch and talking about it. It's, even if you just need more information before you buy it. Final thoughts for an intro price of $329. This is definitely comparable to a lot of other libraries that are kind of that all-in-one. Its RAM footprint is lower, but you're not getting like less for that. Like they've just chose what you need to get started. And I've always been a fan of their legato scripting for the vocalist, especially. The quartet alone is just great. There's just a lot in here that you don't get usually in all-in-one. So, anyways, check it out. Again, Balkan Ethnic Orchestra by Strezov Sampling. I can pull that back up. There we go. It's I guess on intro price until the first week of January. I think January 8th ends the intro price at $329. Then it'll go up to $399. To me, this was a lot of fun. I really can't wait to actually use this on a project. So, anyways, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. It's been a while for me. I've been just busy with work. So I'm glad to kind of be getting back into getting some reviews done. So check this out. And again, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.